smiles to the world, we're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends, home run. You know the ways and the trends, the stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
I can't beat that.
No, I love it. Hey, Glenn, how are you?
Hey, Glen Kuiper, Marty Lurie. We're a team tonight. We're joining up to bring you, of course, my show is the Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants, and Marty's is Marty Lurie and Friends. You can watch it on Marty's YouTube channel. You can watch tonight's show on my YouTube channel, whatever you want to do. But Marty and I, there's nobody I'd rather talk Giants baseball with than Marty, so we thought we'd bring it together tonight and bring you one show on either YouTube channel you watch. So, Marty, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And I invite people to make comments. Subscribe to both of our shows and make comments. We can answer stuff, about the team and all that. We can give you our opinions, but truthfully, I'd like to know your opinion. If you watch this tonight, what do you think about the Giants? The first 50 games, what's good, what's bad, where are they going? Things that surprise you, what's got to happen. So I think that's a good part of what you and I can do tonight. So one already wants to know if the Giants should. This is P. Waswald, okay? Seems to know you, Glenn. What do you think about the Giants going after Matt Olson before the trade deadline? Who would you be willing to give up? This is what people think about. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd love to have Matt Olson. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. I don't know that the Braves would trade him, first of all, and I don't know if he's got a no-trade clause. He's probably got something in there. And remember, he's from that area.
Yeah,
He always wanted to go back and play for the Braves, and he got his wish and signed a long-term contract. So that's the kind of player that would put the Giants over the hump, I think. But those players are very, very hard to come by. So good idea. We'd love to do it, but that may be a little bit too far-fetched. So, Marty, let's start with the game today.
Okay.
We're going to cover a lot tonight, Marty and I. We'll talk about the game, the homestand. It's the 50-game mark in the season. So I've said all along, 50 games is when you start to evaluate. We're going to do that. We'll talk road trip coming up. So we're going to cover a bunch of things. But let's start with the game. Giants lose 8-4 this afternoon. Kind of a dud. Really, there's not much to say, Marty. I mean, Logan Webb didn't have it, and I thought you could tell right from the get-go. His ball was up, it was flat, and he gave up 6 hits in the first 2 innings, and they were loud. He's a great pitcher. He's going to have one of these games every once in a while, and he certainly had one today.
Yeah, and I thought Kansas City showed something. I like them. I like the way they play. I like the way they hustle. I like what they do with the bat.
Yeah.
And they went the other way. They hit a lot of balls through the hole, but they didn't overswing. I didn't see a lot of fly balls today. And I thought they did a good job. I was disappointed. I thought this one was going in the win column. I must tell you. I'll tell you something. Last night I was thinking, I said, boy, if I made a baseball bet and I said, all right, if I had $1 million, what game would I like to bet on it? And I said to myself, how about Logan Webb beating Kansas City tomorrow? Kansas City not even having a starting pitcher. I really thought that. I thought this is one that they would just walk away with. But he didn't have it. And he didn't. And look, he throws more innings than anybody. And he's thrown more innings the last 2 years than anybody. And he got hit a little bit today. And it was one of those days that the ball was through the infield. They scored. They piled on. Salvador Perez homered. And Kansas City did a good job swinging the bat today.
Yeah. And they didn't receive any walks, but they did what you and I talk about all the time. Put the ball in play. Be aggressive at the plate. Don't look for walks. I think at times the Giants offense, maybe, I'd like to see them, maybe be a little more aggressive early in the count. We see a lot of first pitch strikes thrown to Giants hitters, and they take them. And but Kansas City, they remind me a little bit of the Diamondbacks. Put the ball in play, good
Yeah.
team speed. And once they get rolling a little bit, they can be a little bit difficult. But you're right. I mean, they put an opener out there today, and you don't see openers much anymore. But it was the lefty, David Lynch. I don't think it was any coincidence that it was a lefty, which is something we're going to get to in a little bit, Marty. But and really, the Lynch kid, he faced 9 hitters. Giants had 1 soft single against him, and he did walk 3 guys. But there just wasn't much going on there. And you know what? The Royals, this is a pretty good young team. So, so the homestand comes to an end, Marty. 5-4. Of course, you sweep the A's. That certainly helped everything. But you did lose 2 out of 3 to Arizona, and you lose 2 out of 3 here to Kansas City. So, what's kind of your quick assessment of the homestand, which went 5-4?
Yeah, I think they were lucky to be 5-4. And a lot of games, a lot of close games, they all start to look the same after a while. But you had the Wilmer 3-homer game mixed in. Yeah. You had the Koss Grand Slam game mixed in there. You had the game last night where Kansas City kicked it around, mixed in there. But with that, there were a lot of games. Giants got beat 2-1 by Arizona to start the homestand. They lost the 8-7 game where it looked like they were coming back. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, Pasquantino knocks one out on Monday night. They were lucky to win last night. They're not scoring a lot of runs. They're not. And I think what I take from the homestand, they're lucky to be 5-4. And look, the A's had the walk-off. You had that game, the walk-off walk, and Wilmer's big game. And then Sunday coming up with 2 in the 8th inning on the big hit. Was it Wilmer again, wasn't it? I think in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
On Sunday on Verlander's game. So my take on the homestand is 5-4. I'm very happy they're 5-4. It could have been a lot worse. They're not scoring enough runs right now. They're just not.
So there was some news after the game today, Marty, which I thought was interesting. Maybe not a huge surprise with Verlander. Pectoral discomfort. I think he's had it for certainly his last start where he just didn't look right, but didn't think he could make his start this coming Saturday in Washington. So the Giants said, listen, it's still, we're a third of the way through. They put him on the injured list. They think it'll be just a couple starts. So, I mean, that's a significant thing. I don't think it's anything real serious. But then, that brings up the question, who's going to take his spot on Saturday? So most people feel like it's Kyle Harrison. He's here. He hasn't really stretched himself out. So, you may not get, 4 or 5 innings out of him. Who knows? They could do a Wisenhunt thing, who's been sensational in AAA, Carson Wisenhunt. The only thing there, Marty, is he's not on the 40-man roster, so Wisenhunt would need to be put on.
Right.
Anyways, that's a fairly significant, I think, short-term story. Who's going to take Verlander's place for what we hope is really just, maybe just a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Sunday, it was clear that there was something wrong with him. And I think I texted you or Woe during the first inning. I said, wow, the guy is struggling. He was struggling. They finished a fastball. Everything was, and Mike said it on the air with Dwayne, they're easy takes. They weren't even close. There was something up with him. So they say pectoral, blah, blah, blah. Anything for a pitcher, when you start dealing with muscles, you start dealing with obliques and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And he's 42 years old, and this is kind of what was expected at some point. So I would scratch him. I would not. And as Ken Maka used to say, when he's back on the roster, then let me know, and then we'll talk about it. Until then, he's a non-entity for me. So what do you do? Well, Kyle Harrison, it was his job. Yeah. Roop sort of took that job, and now Birdsong is in there for Hicks. But Kyle Harrison is a starting pitcher, and he pitched down in Sacramento. He's been up for a couple of weeks. He's a kid. And, I think Kyle Harrison deserves it and gets it.
Yeah, I do too. And like I said, I don't, neither of us have any inside information on what the Giants may do, but that certainly seems like the most natural decision to make.
Yeah.
You have to call up a reliever, obviously, if you did do that. And there's guys that, Jelly and Tristan Beck are both on the roster, and they've been decent down in AAA. So one of those guys could get called up, but we'll see. But I don't think it's I don't want to shortchange the Verlander injury. It doesn't sound like it's a huge thing. But it's a couple starts that he's probably going to miss. So
you hope. They always say that. Oh, there's nothing wrong here. We're very happy with it. Don't worry about anything. And then I'll see you in July.
Sure.
When he's back, he's back, and I want to see him when he comes back. But Wisenhunt could come up. They have 2 open spots, I think, on the 40-man. So all they got to do is put him on there. But when you're a player, Glenn, and you know this from all the days that you played and commentated, when you lose your job, you kind of get it back if you show that you're entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
And how could you not give it back? What else does Harrison have to do? I mean, they said, go to Sacramento, build your endurance back up, build your speed back up. He did it. He came up here. He did it. So I would think, for my money, I would say it'd be Harrison. I think the other thing I want to get your opinion on is Hicks. I thought Hicks today came out and somebody said to him, by the way, why don't you put a little effort into it? And he was done with an inning and 5 pitches. Hicks looked like the old Hicks today for that one inning.
Yeah, and you could make the best bullpen in baseball a lot better if Hicks, accepts that role, which he seems like he is fine with. Probably not what he wanted and disappointed, but still okay with it. I think that's something to keep an eye on. If he can be good out of the bullpen, I mean, that bullpen has been ridiculous, and it'll get even better. There's a question here, Marty, from Eddie KS24. It's time to see what Wisenhunt can do. He's old enough to and stretched out. And I think it's a good point. And we talk a lot about Carson Wisenhunt. He's never been to the big leagues. But I think, Marty, there's people in the organization who feel like he's every bit as good, or will be every bit as good as Harrison, Roop, or maybe even Birdsong. He is pitching terrific in AAA. I checked what he's done lately, Marty. His last 4 starts, he's gone 7 innings in each start. He's got a 1.29 ERA, 2 walks, 28 strikeouts. That's his last 4 starts. And his whole body of work in AAA this year has been very good. The Giants said you need to pound the zone more, walk fewer people, and he's done that compared to last year. I think he's probably a finished product. He's made the moves in the minor leagues, single A, double A, triple A, another year in triple A. So he's got plenty of minor league innings, Marty. And, I think he's going to be a really good pitcher in the big leagues for a long, long time. He just hasn't, his time has not quite come yet. It's getting close, but I don't think there's any question that this young man, Carson Wisenhunt, is ready to pitch in the big leagues and stay in the big leagues. What do you think?
I think so. I think you're right. For some reason, they've slow tracked him. I don't know why.
A little bit,
Everyone else is being pushed a lot faster than him. But for some reason, he went a little more slow. He had an injury. I think didn't he have a knee or something along the way. But, his time will come. But do you put him in ahead of Harrison? Come on, Harrison is your guy. And as I say.
I wouldn't do that either. But I do think when these conversations come up, I think now Wisenhunt's name is in the front office's conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd love to see it. I saw him pitch a couple of times in spring, and he's got the great changeup, and he's got command, obviously, and he's pitched in a tough league. So, absolutely. There's also the argument: do you put Hicks back in the rotation? Someone brought that up today. Hicks is, he was a starter. They signed him for the $45 million, and now there's an opening. Do you put him back in there?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but again, we've talked about this, Marty, many times. This is why, you feel good about the Giants is they didn't have this kind of depth last year with their pitching. And now I don't want to say it's being tested, but now you got an injury and you've made a move in the rotation already, but you have these kids that are really good young pitchers, and you can plug them in. So that's a good thing. All right, Marty, it's the 50 game mark, and I've said to you many times in the last month, I said, you know what? Let's break this team down. Let's dig into what we like, what we don't like at 50 games. And you said, okay, that's fair, right? We're about almost a third of the way through. So 50 games in, 29-21, record's good. They're right in this thing. They're only a game behind the Dodgers, or a game and a half. The pitching's been good. I don't think we can complain about that, right, Marty? I mean, coming into today, second best ERA in the National League for the whole group. Rotation's been pretty solid, and the bullpen's been terrific. I have no real complaints or real big concerns about the pitching staff.
No, I agree. The pitching has been terrific. When I do these things, I like to start with the opposition, and let's look at the division. Now, let's forget about the Giants just for a second. Say, well, who are they competing with? And then we'll figure out where they are. All right, they're competing with the Dodgers. Dodgers hit the heck out of the ball, and they do. The Dodger rotation is a real problem right now, getting healthy people in that rotation. They have trouble in the bullpen. They're using 5 or 6 guys a night. The Dodgers are not running away from anybody. That's one thing that I take right now. They're definitely vulnerable. What happened to the Padres? My goodness, they're getting pasted by Toronto tonight. There's 4 errors on the board the last time I looked. Dylan Cease 1-4. The Padres, as great as they were early, they've slowed down a lot.
Marty, they lost that game 14-0 today to the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and it was that bad.
Yeah, Padres had 5 hits and 4 errors. So all of a sudden, they don't look good at all after a really hot start.
So you start thinking about, all right, they're the Padres. Now, Arizona, we got a good look at, and they can hit. There's no question about it. We saw it in the 10-6 game. We saw it in the 8-7 game. They can hit the ball, but their bullpen is non-existent until they get A.J. Puck back, who and this Martinez kid. Shelby Miller, as much as he's a great story, I'm sorry, it's not going to last. Their starting rotation, which should have been fabulous, with Jordan Montgomery and Eddie Rodriguez, well, they're gone, basically. They're both hurt. And Fought is okay, and Burns is pitching tonight against the Dodgers.
He's been good.
Good. Arizona with Gallen and Kelly, they're not there yet. Yeah. They're not there yet. So the Giants competing in this division in the way you just described it with the pitching makes me feel pretty good about the first 50 games, because nobody is burying them, and they're going toe-to-toe. When it comes down to everything about this team, it's how they play in the West, because the West can score some runs. And that's where we're basically going to end up in this discussion, is scoring some runs. The West can score some runs. They're going to have to do their job in the West. But as far as the division is concerned, I think they're right there with everybody.
Yeah. You know what? A couple notes about the NL West that I jotted down, Marty, to kind of piggyback on what you just said. The Dodgers, who playing the Diamondbacks tonight, rubber game of the series. Burns is pitching in that game, right. But the Dodgers have a tough schedule coming up after the game tonight. They're at the Mets, at Cleveland, and then they come home and play the Yankees and the Mets again. Yeah. So it's a tough 2-week stretch coming up. Yeah. The Padres, I looked it up, Marty. On April 14th, the Padres were 14-3. Remember, the Padres and the Dodgers got off to a great start. So 14-3, the Padres were on April 14th. Since then, they're 13-17.
Yeah.
So again, I think you said it best. We can't figure out the Padres from year to year.
Yeah.
And now their lineup is fully healthy right now, right? And their pitching is, it's pretty good. And the lineup, everybody's in it. And here they are losing, 5 games in a row. And everybody loses 5 in a row. But again, after that hot start, they have been a below 500 team. So they're an interesting team to watch. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. And the Diamondbacks with Burns pitching tonight, Burns has started to throw the ball well. That's a big deal for them. I think if Gallen has been so. If Gallen can get turned around, now you got Kelly, Gallen, and Burns
and fought
back, and they run around and score runs. So that's I'm glad you brought that up, and that's kind of where the National League West is right now, and where the Giants kind of sit amongst those other three teams.
Yeah, and the Giants, someone pointed this out, are 17-17 in their last 34.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, that's 12-4 because they're 29-21 now. So 17-17, they've been sort of that's who they are. Yeah. They can win every game that they play. Every starting pitcher out there can give them a game, every one of them. And if they can get to that 6th inning or 7th inning, and you start that parade coming in, Rogers, very uncharacteristic that he gave up the home run to Vinny. Who I love Vinny. He's the perfect DH baseman. And
he looks like a DH. Yes, he does.
What a name, Vinny Pasquantino. And he knocked one into the arcade. I mean, it was a baseball moment. So, I like where the Giants are at in the division. In the division, I don't think anyone is going to cream them in the division. It's just when they play the division, they're going to have to score some runs.
Yeah. All right, you're watching the Marty Lurie and Friends show and also the Glen Kuiper show, All Giants. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. You can watch it on Marty's YouTube channel. Either one, we're just glad you're joining us because Marty and I love doing this. So feel free to fire some questions, and a lot of people have been doing that. And most importantly, subscribe to both of us. We'll take you both. Why not? So So absolutely. Marty, here's the deal. This I felt like, okay, we're 50 games in. I need to give you my biggest concern, and it is a concern. And I want to give you some numbers because I've dug a little bit and see what you think. But we've talked about it. But the Giants against left-handed pitching has not been good this year. And I think right now that, in my mind, is the biggest concern surrounding this team. It's not the pitching. It's defensively the team is kind of come and go. But I'm concerned because they have not been good against left-handed pitching, and that surprises the hell out of me because in spring training everybody was like a lot of right-handed hitters, maybe 2 right-handed heavy. But that immediately makes you think, wow, they should be good against left-handed pitching. And they have not been, Marty. And I want to get your general thoughts before I give you some numbers. But I will tell you this. The Giants are hitting 220 as a team against left-handed pitching so far this year with an OPS of 650. Yeah, that's not enough.
No.
So before I give you some more numbers, tell me what you think about what you've seen and should I be this concerned about it?
Well, I think you should be concerned because my reason for why they're not beating lefties, look, a lefty is a starting pitcher. How many starting pitchers go 7? But they'll hold the Giants down for 5 or 6. Then you got to deal with a bullpen. But the fact is they're not knocking lefties out of the game. So why is that happening? And I was asked the question last night. Bonte sent me a text or something about lefties or the day before. And I said, I'll tell you why. Look at the lineup. You got Lamont Wade, who is doing nothing against righties and lefties. And against lefties, forget it. He doesn't even play. Casey Schmidt is a 0 right now. He's got to get better, but he was hurt. Fitzgerald's hitting 290, but he's been out a lot. These are the right-handed hitters who should be doing damage. But it comes down to the guy who's making the most money, and that's Adames. Adames has been up a lot where he can change a game, where he can get one hit, and all of a sudden a 2-1 game becomes a 3-2 game or a 4-1 game. So Adames has been awful against righties and lefties, really. Chapman, we know who he is. You know who he is. He has not crushed the ball. Usually he gets hot for a couple of weeks, He got hot once so far this year. Great defender, but he's not hitting. Ramos, I love. Ramos hits lefties. He crushes the ball. Jung-Hoo Lee, I must say, and I said this when the season started, he's going to lead the league in hitting. Well, he's going to lead the league in his hat falling off. That's basically what he's leading the league in. He's not doing anything. He's hitting 270 now. He's heading to 260. This guy was hitting 360. And Yastrzemski against lefties, they sort of take him out, put Matos in, who's hitting 140. And then you get the catcher, who's hitting 160 or 170. And even Huff, who backs him up, is hitting, 100, 200, 7 for 45 or what have you. So my point is this, Glenn, look at the hitters. The guys who should be hitting are not hitting left-handed pitching. And it comes down to the big righties. Flores is killing it. Wade, not a factor, but we know that. But Ramos, Flores, they're killing it. And somebody else has got to help them. And they're getting killed by lefties because those right-handed hitters are doing nothing. And there's a point at 50 games where with Willy Adames, I know he strikes out a lot, but it's when he's striking out. And he got lucky last night. I'll tell you that when he hit the triple, he swung at a slider that almost hit you in the press box last night. Then Lorenzen comes back with a fastball right high over the plate, which Willie loves, and hit it into Triple's alley, and that was a big hit for them last night. Willie's got to do something.
So here's some more numbers for you. And yeah, I think, yeah, you kind of hit on what I was thinking, but the right-handed hitters for the Giants this year against left-handed pitching are hitting 216.
Yeah.
So, and there's, we talk about, Luis Matos. Let's get him in there against lefties. Luis Matos against left-handed pitching this year, Marty, is 3 for 36.
Yeah. No, it's not happening.
Now, this is the spot that really alarmed me. And it unfortunately had to do with Willy Adames. And I am not one of these people, Marty, and you know this. I don't care about how much money he's making.
Right.
I just don't. To me, that doesn't do anything for what we're talking about. I know fans like to go there. I just don't go there. It's I don't care what he's making. I'm glad for him. Adames this year against left-handed pitching is hitting 143 with 2 RBIs. Okay. Now Matt Chapman, Matt Chapman's fine against lefties. He's hitting, I got him at 286. But Chapman has a homer and 3 RBIs against left-handed pitching. So here's the deal, Marty. This is the one that just got me. So your two most powerful or close to your most powerful right-handed hitters who are both in run-producing spots in the lineup, whether it's second, fourth, fifth, wherever they are, Adames and Chapman against left-handed pitching this year through 50 games have a combined 1 homer and 5 RBIs.
Yeah, that's the deal. That's it.
I think that right there is, and I'm not trying to lump it on these two guys. I'm just telling you the numbers.
They're the 4 or 5 hitters.
Those numbers have to be better. And Adames, I think, he's pressing. I don't know, but he's never been good against left-handed pitching, Marty, in his career. If you just look at his numbers, he's always been better against right-handers.
Okay.
In these guys, in the case of the two we're talking about, that I love both these guys as players. I really do. They're not doing enough damage for where they're hitting in the lineup, I think. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, and Ramos leads off and can do damage.
Yeah, and Fitz is fine. Fitz is fine, and Jung-Hoo Lee's done a good job against lefties this year. He's
got very, very soft contact, very soft. He's not going the other way anymore. I don't know. I think he's in a slump. I think he's in a 2-week slump. Yeah. I'm not really worried about him because he has bat to ball skills. Yeah, at one point he was 10 for 50.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is later.
I understand. I just, I'm not worried about him so much, and he does get a big hit for you.
Yeah.
But
Oh, he's dangerous. When he comes up, he looks dangerous.
Now, so that's my big concern, Marty, is they have to figure out how to be better against left-handed pitching. Now, is Encarnacion going to help? I think he could help, but we cannot anoint him to be the guy that's going to save the Giants and make them much more productive against left-handed pitching. I think that's asking too much of a guy who doesn't have a lot of big league experience, but there is something there, and we saw it last year. So I think he will help when he comes back. He's close, maybe a week away yet.
Yeah.
But is that enough? I think what needs to happen is the guys we're talking about, they just need to be better. And you know what? I think they would probably agree with us.
It's true. Come on, they said, look, Encarnacion's going to help. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to help, because if the guy puts the bat on the ball, it's going to go somewhere. He hits the ball hard. This is not a punch and Judy hitter. This is a guy who can hit. So here's Adames today. And look, I love him defensively. It's a little bit of an adventure. He takes a lot of time getting rid of the ball for some reason. It's a lot of close plays at first, but he's got the second most errors, I think, in baseball, and most of them are on throws. But today in the first inning, as you said, Chapman gets a walk and Flores reaches out and taps one. It's first and third with 2 out. Here comes Adames, and he flies out to left. He hit it hard, I think, if I remember correctly, but he flies out to left. Third inning, they get the home run from Chapman. Lee gets a nice double. Flores flies to left. Adames then strikes out, and Yaz pops out to short. So here's 2 chances for Adames to do some damage, and it didn't happen. And there are a lot of games like that. So your analysis is right. It's the guys in the certain spots of the lineup. You can't blame it on Fitzgerald and Bailey and whoever's going to hit in Wade's spot. It's at 7, 8, and 9. It's the first 6 have got to do damage, and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And
we've seen it recently, I mean, the numbers say this has been an issue all year. But what's fresh in your mind is, the Springs guy for the A's did it on, was it Saturday night, I believe, shut the Giants down. And then
Bubic almost pitched a no-hitter.
Yeah. So they got to Sears on Friday night a little bit, but it's just a thing now. I think it's a significant issue that
they're going to end up.
If they want to do what they think they can do, I think that right there offensively is what needs to change.
Yeah. I think it's the whole offense. The whole offense is only hitting 230 something.
Yeah.
So to pick out the left-handed side is true, but the whole offense has got to be picked up a little bit. They're going to get Mackenzie Gore probably Friday night because Washington got rained out tonight. So
yeah, that's right. I had him missing him because Gore was supposed to pitch, but he got rained out. Yeah, you're right. They did.
Yeah, so they'll get Williams. I think. Well, I don't know what Washington's going to do tomorrow. But Gore, it looked like there was.
You know what? Maybe they're playing a doubleheader tomorrow, Marty.
That's it. Yeah, maybe they will, and maybe Gore will go in one of those games, and they'll get Parker on Sunday.
Yeah. It looks like Washington is playing tomorrow, but it doesn't look like a doubleheader at this point. So
if it's not, then Williams will go, and Gore will. So they'll miss Parker then at that point. But Glenn, the whole thing is. Pitching, I love the pitching. I tell you, I can't wait to see Roop pitch at all of them. They all pitch great. Look, the numbers tell you, ERA, bullpen numbers, all that. It's all fine, just fine. But it's the offense that's got to pick it up a little bit. And they score a ton of runs. Somehow they get the hit when they need it. They get it out when they need it. And it's not that consistent of an offense. And it's been going on for a few weeks now. And I think that's what I take in the first 50 is that I think the offense has got to be better. How they do that is up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Up to me. That's too much pressure, Marty. Hey, let's you know what? Let's move off this. I think we got our point across. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming road trip. So you mentioned they'll start in Washington. They go to Detroit and Miami. So it's their second East Coast trip, three city East Coast trip. So you start in Washington, who's been playing pretty well lately, but a little bit like Miami, Marty, where their offense is middle of the pack. Okay. The pitching has not been great for Washington. They got some fun young players that I'm looking forward to seeing. I know you think back, and there's a series where the Giants went to Washington, and just a lot of weird stuff happened. Maybe you only remember the weird stuff or the bad losses, but so they'll start in Washington anyways this weekend. We'll see who they face. To me, this, listen, Washington's fine. What's their record? 22-27. Pretty good young talent, but you got to take 2 out of 3 here.
They're even at home. I think they're 12-12 at home.
Yeah.
So they do play well. They got a bullpen. That Finnegan guy can.
Good, yeah.
They've got a couple of guys in the bullpen who can do the job. There's always something that goes on there. You're right. There's always something. But this Cruz, I saw him hit a home run last night. He just crushed one. He's not hitting 200 yet, but he's trouble. Kelbert Ruiz is always a little trouble. The catcher, the big kid James Wood is a big slugger. He's going to give you trouble. They got Josh Bell, who doesn't do much in there. It'll be a competitive series. They got the lefty Parker, and they get Jake Irvin and Soroka. So theoretically, the Giants should be in decent shape over the weekend. So they get Roop Friday, then the spot we're talking about on Saturday, and then
then Sunday would be let's see,
Robbie Ray Sunday.
Yeah, think so. Yeah.
So
you go from Washington, and then this will be fun. Looking forward to seeing the Tigers. I mean, what can you say? I mean, do they still have the best record in baseball? They may. I think they do, right? The Tigers are 33-17. 33-17. They've been great at home. They got a really good pitching staff, good starters. And they just, from what I've kind of read, they just kind of grind and play the game the right way. I don't know that their lineup's really filled with stars. Doesn't seem like it. Javi Baez is now in center. Torkelson's been finally figured it out. But it's not necessarily a star-studded team except for Skubal, the Cy Young guy, who, according to what I looked at, Marty, it says Skubal is starting on Sunday, which means the Giants would miss him. That's the guy you don't want to face, probably in all of Major League Baseball. So if everything stays the same, the Giants would miss Skubal in that 3-game series next week.
Yeah. Detroit's got some good pitching.
Yeah.
Jackson Jobe is pitching well. Flaherty is in that mix as well. They've got guys coming back from injuries too. And we've seen them. They've got the bullpen. AJ Hinch will run that bullpen out there the whole game. And they're tough at home. That's going to be a tough series for the Giants. Mm-hmm. That's not an easy one. This Riley Carpenter? Is that Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green?
Yeah, Riley Green, the outfielder. He's got lots of power.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. It's a team we don't know jack about. You know that? But somehow 31-17.
Yeah, you don't follow them much, but you look forward to seeing them, right? I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then you finish in Miami. It's the Marlins. They trade their players, a lot of young players. They got a young kid, Kyle Stowers, left-handed hitter, who's terrific, but not a lot of pitching. So again, a series that you probably need to go down there. Hard place to play though, Marty, because there's never anybody there. It's this giant building, and I've been there, and it's a pretty building, but there's nobody there. It's like you're in an empty airplane hangar. So, not an easy place to play in some strange way. But you got to do some damage against teams like that, I think.
Yeah, they have trouble with Miami down there. Someone always hits a home run. Did you like the home run structure they used to have? Remember that thing they used to?
No, I did not. I did not. I think it was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my lifetime,
Really?
let alone in a baseball stadium.
Yeah, I remember they had that. It's a big park, though.
It's huge. It's really big. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it plays big, and it's the structure's big, and the upper deck's big, and yeah. But there's not any atmosphere, right? There's just
They got Alcantara, they got Cabrera, they got Quantrill, and they've got Max Meyer,
yeah,
that
yeah,
kid, and they've got David Weathers, his son, who's pitched 2 great games already, and he's the lefty, the guy from the
yeah,
Padres, Weathers.
yeah.
So Giants are going to see some pitching. They're going to see some pitching, and they got Foucher in the bullpen. They got some players, and again, it's an Eastern team at home, and that gives them a tremendous advantage. Tremendous advantage. So the Giants, I said 8-4 in this little 12-game stretch. So already they're 1-2, and now they got 9 more games to go. I said 8-4, but
They better go. Better get going.
they better. Seriously, they got to hit. They got to play the whole game because, like you said, this is a good weekend for them. A good 10 days for them because the Padres have a tough schedule. Arizona's got a tough schedule, and so do the Dodgers. The Giants, if they play ball here, can come out of this thing maybe in first place.
Yeah. You know what, Marty? I want to wrap up the show, and we're gonna step away from the Giants. I want to ask you about the Juan Soto stuff, and then you know what, we'll say goodbye, and I'll give you the rest of your night off because I know you probably got a big night planned.
Arizona gets late early,
and you know what? You're a New York guy, right? You grew up there. A lot going on there when it comes to sports, and Juan Soto's taking a lot of heat. Of course, he signed the huge contract with the Mets, 1 year with the Yankees. He was great in New York with the Yankees. He looks, I tend to generally stick up for guys a little bit, players, because it's a very difficult game to play. There's a lot of pressure. It's a game of failure. And anything in life where you fail as much as you do in baseball, it's hard. It's hard, and it wears you out mentally. And I want to stick up for Juan Soto, but he to me, when I see him recently and even over the week, he looks a little disinterested. Would you agree with that?
It's tough to look into someone else's mind.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why it's kind of a superficial.
In court,
I
say,
don't like to do that, but he just like even not running, not running hard on balls. It just seems a little like that's the one thing you can do, Marty. You can be in a slump, you can be scuffling, but you can hustle. And I know that sounds kind of little league-ish, but you can hustle, right?
Oh yeah, look, this is New York. This is New York baseball. When I watched the Yankee Mets series and they looked in the stands to see those people, every one of them was screaming and yelling and wearing Yankee and Mets stuff. I mean, the crowd was off the charts. That was New York baseball at its worst or at its best. So 3 things happened. 1, he put on weight. He looks bigger. That's number 1. 2, his bat speed has slowed down, and that's statistically shown. He's not swinging the bat quite like he did last year. 3, he hit one off the wall at Fenway, and he ended up getting a single because he thought it was going out. Yeah. And then he had to steal second to get the second. So, and then he didn't run out a ball completely. And when you see this in New York, where they're just waiting for this anyway, they're on the guy like glue. They're all over him. So that's what's happening to him. The Mets aren't scoring many runs lately either. This Met Dodger series will be interesting to see how that goes. But Soto is the bullseye is on the guy.
Yeah.
The bullseye's on him, but he doesn't look. He had Judge behind him last year. That's a big luxury.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Yeah.
got a good hitter. I mean, Alonso's having a great year. I know nobody's Aaron Judge, and you're right. But he's got enough around him in that Mets lineup where
Yeah.
that to me shouldn't be an issue. Lindor's great.
I agree.
Alonso's having an MVP year. There's enough there for him to put up big numbers, which when it's all said and done, he very well could, Marty. But I just, you know, and again, maybe it's the old school in me, but it just doesn't kill you to just make an effort, run the ball out.
Yeah.
Right,
Has
I
he
mean,
ever been that
listen,
kind
if
of
you hit a
player?
one-hopper, if you had a one-hop shot at the second baseman who fields it like this, I get it. Okay. I get it. Maybe you're going to be out. It's the big leagues, but when you hit a ball off the wall or you hit a ball in the hole and it on top of everything else, Marty, it's a bad look for you. And then, like the perception kind of becomes reality a little bit. Oh, the guy's not hustling. And then it just in New York, as you know, it just
Yeah,
multiplies and multiplies. And sometimes guys can't get out of that,
that's right.
right? I mean, this is year one of a 15-year contract.
He may be slightly out of shape, which is not good, and the bat speed has slowed down a little bit.
But maybe
So,
one is because of the other. Who knows, right? I mean, we don't
yeah,
know. That's
no,
possible.
but no, he could end up being a story.
Yeah.
That could end up being a story, and we haven't seen the Mets yet, have we? No, we have,
No.
no.
And he's
Yeah.
a terrific player, and I love watching him play. But one of the reasons I liked watching him play, Marty, was because he played with that exuberance. He
Yeah.
played like a young kid, just excited to play, and then he's this terrific talent. And I feel like I'm not quite seeing that smile and that, and again, when 50,000 people are saying bad things about your family for 3 straight games, that has a chance to have an effect on you. I mean, I will give him that.
How
But
about the
wouldn't that make you want to play harder?
Well, it's that as what was said, and Felipe said, "Show me the man first, then the player,"
Yeah.
and you just hope what's inside of him being challenged, which it probably is. He's a pro. It's a
Yeah.
tough game, but the fact that maybe he put on some weight, maybe the bat slowed down a little bit, and he's not as productive. So we'll see, but it's worth a story.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth a story.
It's
So
gonna
what do
be
you think? It's 50 games down. How do you feel?
good. Yeah. You know what? Listen, I mean, I thought, we all thought the Giants would be good and in spring training, and they felt like they would be good, and the front office felt like they would be good, and the manager felt like, and they are good. I
Yeah,
mean, listen, they're
they
they're
can play
29 and
anything.
21, a game and a half behind the Dodgers after 50 games. And I think, and I've said this for a while now, and I'm gonna stay with this. I think there's more there offensively, Marty.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's more there to the point where you're gonna be a top 3 offense in the league, but they don't need that with their good pitching. I think there's a little bit more there offensively. And then if you can, maybe Encarnacion gives you a little more of a bump. I don't know. Maybe come July, maybe you go get somebody, right? So if you can get a little bit better internally, and if you need to get somebody, they got the assets to get somebody. Then if you can get your offense to be, maybe a top 5 or 6 scoring team in the National League with that pitching, then I think you got a real good chance to be a playoff team. We just
Yeah.
have to sit back and watch to see if at right now, Marty, if they can get a little better internally, right? As we said, Adames and Chapman and these guys, they need to be a little bit better in certain spots. And then maybe you get some help. And if you can do that, I think you got a shot.
I think without a doubt in my mind, they have to get a first baseman.
Yeah.
Wade is
You're
a free agent. They're not signing him. Let's face it. They're not signing Wade to, a 5-year, $100 million contract. So deal with it now and get a first baseman and get someone that you could put in that line. I love Wade. I love Lamont and everything about him. He's been fabulous. But they need a hitter in that lineup for him. And the other one is Fitzgerald. He's here for his speed. He's got to get on. He's got to impact the game. And I said this on the show the other night. I said, I think of Freddie Sanchez, a Scudero. Give me a second baseman like the Royals. Give me a guy who hits worm eaters, and gets on base and doesn't strike out as much. I don't need home runs from Fitz. I need him to get on. So I think first and second, the catcher, nobody's going to do anything to the catcher. The guy takes pitches.
You just gotta hope he hits. You gotta hope he gets a little hot, and he could.
But even if he doesn't, he takes a pitch from the batter's box and makes it a strike.
Yeah, I agree.
But the first and second base thing, and there's potential there. They have to do something. You cannot go through the season the way they're going through it. That's what 50 games shows me. They're in it, and they can be in the playoffs. They got the pitching to be in the play. They're in it without a doubt. Now, be bold. Do something.
All right, Marty. Thanks. This was great as always. And you know what? People watching on your station, Marty Lurie and Friends, on my YouTube channel, Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, right, Marty? That's the key word.
Yeah, subscribe. And then you'll find out when we're on and all this kind of stuff. And what I like about this, because we both do radio. You're with me on every Sunday. We do that. This one, you can get loose.
That's right.
You can really, you're not constrained by commercials or, 5 minutes or 6 minutes. You can really make an opinion, and it's you. It's really you talking. And that's what I like about this thing. And I think that's why people like to watch it. We're not here to just say, well, boy, Verlander, he's been terrific and he has a little pictorial problem. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Yeah. Really? Let's see.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to hear from the writers, Oh, no problem. Everything is, it's like that little meme, with the dog with the fire going around him. Everything's fine. Don't worry.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I like about this.
I think it's important to let fans know that, you know what? It's not perfect, but it could be a lot worse. And here's where maybe it could get a little bit better, and get yourself in the postseason and go from there.
And I like that we could say it.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this. We can say it. Yeah.
All right, Marty. Let's do this again real soon. And for everybody out there watching, we certainly appreciate it. Remember, you can check me out on X, formerly Twitter, at Kuiper Baseball. Marty's all over social media. He's the godfather. Marty, I appreciate it, bud. Let's do it again.
Yeah, well, you and I Sunday.
All right.
We'll be on the radio together Sunday. Okay. All right. Have a good night.
Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has two favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean-caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. To mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a two-seamer and a four-seamer, or maybe a four-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow. I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
Hello again, Marty Lurie here to talk to you about my good friends at Georgie Brothers, the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now, and good through May 26th, You can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, Stressless. You know, I own Stressless furniture in my home, and I can tell you it's the most comfortable place to sit in my house. Visit them at georgiebrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you.
Thank you kindly. Enjoy the next week. We've got a whole bunch of baseball to speak on here at Marty